Hey guys, welcome to question MM245 of the Maths Methods Fortify study guide. So we've got this question: Mitch and Liv go on a camping holiday. They set up their conical tent as soon as they get to the campsite as shown below. So this is their tent. The height of their tent is h meters and the base is b meters. They aren't sure how much of their stuff they can fit in the tent, so they work out the volume of the inside of the tent. They discover the volume to be 15 pi on 8 meters cubed, right? So volume equals 15 pi on 8 meters cubed. And we need to express h in terms of b. All right, awesome. So first things first is we know that the volume is 15 pi on 8. And we also know how to work out the volume of a cone, right? It's on our formula sheet. And we know that volume is equal to 1/3 pi r squared h. Awesome. So that means that 1/3 times pi times our radius of the cone, which is half of b, right? So b on 2 squared times by h, which is in this case actually h. We also know that this volume works out to be 15 pi on 8. So then what happens is we get pi b squared h over 12. That's equal to 15 pi on 8. Rearranging all this, we actually get h is equal to 45 over 2b squared. Awesome. Obviously, you might need to do a few more steps in between here, but that's cool. So this is your first mark, recognizing that 15 pi on 8 is equal to our actual formula up here. And then our second mark comes when we actually get our answer h in terms of b. Awesome. Guys, that's it for question A, or part A. Let's move on to part B. Part B is now talking about surface area. So part B tells us to show that the surface area is equal to S. So S equals pi b over 4, that's out of b, plus the square root of 2025 over b to the 4 plus b squared. Awesome. And that's what we're going to try and find out. So according to our formula sheet, the surface area of a cone is equal to pi r squared plus pi r times s, and where s is this length here, right? The hypotenuse length. So that means that s is going to be equal to pi times our radius squared, which is b on 2 squared, plus pi again times our radius, which is b on 2, times the slant or the hypotenuse of this cone, where this is like a triangle, and we can use Pythagoras to figure out that this is our c value, which means that c is equal to the square root of this squared plus this squared, okay? So plus our height squared, the square root of our height squared, plus our radius squared, which is in this case, again, b on 2 squared. Sweet. So the thing to recognize with our surface area equation is that we don't have any h's in here, right? There's no mention of an h, which means that we're actually going to need to replace our h with our function here, which was the whole purpose of finding our value of h in terms of b to begin with. So that means that our surface area is going to be equal to pi b squared over 4 plus pi b on 2 times the square root of 45 over 2b squared squared, because our h is equal to this, and then we square that, plus b squared over 4. Sweet. So this is our first mark, right? Recognizing that as our first mark. And this is a 2-mark question. Okay, so this is our part B, 2 marks. And now we're going to need to manipulate this to get it looking like this. Okay, so from here, basically what we want to do is, right, let's just maybe expand that out again. So pi b on 2 root 45 squared is 2025. You can do this in your CAS because you've got that available. So we got over 4b to the power of 4, and then plus b squared over 4. So what this is actually going to become is we're going to take out 1/4 as a common factor. We're going to get 2025 over b to the 4 plus b squared. Right, so we've taken out 1/4 as a common factor here, which means that we have this 1/4 out the front. So square root of a quarter times square root of this. Square root of a quarter is 1/2. All right, so we have 1/2 that comes out the front, So we then get pi b squared over 4 plus pi b over 2. Now this 1/4 in the square root becomes 1/2 outside the square root, and then we get square root of 2025 over b to the 4, sorry, b to the 4 plus b squared. Sweet. Then from here, we're pretty much looking like what we want to look like with our answer. But I'm just going to do 2 more lines of working. We're going to get pi b squared over 4 plus pi b over 4, right? So pi b over 2 times 1 over 2 is pi b over 4. Side of 2025 over b to the 4 plus b squared. Sweet. Now, we have a common factor between these two of pi b over 4. So we're going to take pi b over 4 out as a factor, which means we have b plus 2025 over b to the 4 plus b squared. And this is our final answer. So that's our second mark. You can even say as required afterwards. I like to do that. But that's our surface area equation as we needed to find as per the question. So that's our second and final mark for part B. Let's move on to part C. So in part C, we're asked to find the minimum value of S, right? Cool. So Mitch and Liv found that the manufacturer of the tents are us created this tent such that the surface area is a minimum, hence lowering their production costs. Alrighty. Sweet, so part C. This is 2 marks. Find the value of B for which S is a minimum and find this minimum value of S correct to 2 decimal places. Alright, awesome. So we know that this is the surface area. If the surface area is going to be a minimum, we're going to have to derive this and let it equal 0, right? We do have our CAS, which means that we can just sub this straight into our CAS. So the derivative of this, which is ds dB, is equal to, according to our CAS, so you can even say CAS, pi b over 2 plus 3 pi b to the 4 over 4 times b to the 6 plus 2025 minus pi root b to the 6 plus 2025 over 4b squared. Sweet. So what we're going to now do is in CAS solve this is equal to 0, right? So 0 equals this, and then our CAS is going to spit out b is equal to 2.52 meters. We need to make sure that we include this meters unit. And that's our first mark, right? So recognizing or finding the value of b is our first mark. And then our second mark is finding the minimum value of s correct to 2 decimal places. Awesome. So we know that this is our s value, and how we find that is by subbing in our b value. So we get pi times 2.52 over 4 outside of 2.52 plus root 2025 over 2.52 to the 4 plus 2.52 squared. Then what we're going to get for this, keeping in mind that we need to answer correct to 2 decimal places, is 19.87 meters squared. That is our second mark and final answer. So S equals 19.87 meters squared. That's our final answer for part C. So let's move on to part D. Part D is simply a 1 mark question, which asks us to find the height of this particular tent correct to 1 decimal place. Awesome. So we know that H and B have a relationship. We know that H is equal to 45 over 2b squared. We know our B value for this particular tent, which is 2.52. So we get 2 times 2.52 squared, which gives us 3.6 meters. That's correct to 1 decimal place, which means that's our first and only mark for this question. And we can move on to part E. Part E is a 2 mark question. And it asks us the production cost of this tent is fixed. The floor canvas is thicker than the rest of the material, so it costs $25 per meter squared. So floor is $25 per meter squared, and the remainder of the material costs $18. So remainder is $18 per square meter to produce. What is the total material cost for Tents R Us to produce this tent? Awesome. So in order to find the total material cost, first we're going to actually have to figure out how much area each section is taking up, right? So the floor canvas area and also the remainder of the material. We're going to need to find the total area of that before we can work out how much it costs. So our floor area for this particular tent is pi r squared, right? So it's just the base of this, which is a circle. So area equals pi r squared. And we know that for this tent, our radius is equal to 2.52 over 2, because our b value is 2.52, so that divided by 2 is our radius, which means that our area is 4.968 meters squared, which means that our cost for that is 4.968 times $25, because it's $25 per square meter. And from that we get 124.21, or 21 cents, which is our first mark, okay? So our floor cost is 124.21, but now we're going to need to find out the remainder of the total, right? So according to the previous questions, we found out that the total surface area was equal to 19.87. We know that the floor is 4.968. So floor is equal to 4.968 meters squared, which means that our remainder is equal to 19.87, which is the total surface area minus our floor area. This gives us 14.905 meters squared, which is the remainder. And we know that the remainder costs $18 per square meter, right? So 14.905 times $18, which is equal to 268.28. So this is our remainder. Now, the total material cost is going to be our floor plus our remainder. So total cost is equal to 124.21 plus 268.28, which is equal to 392.49 cents. So we would just assume that we round up to 2 decimal places, because money only has 2 decimal places, and that's our second mark. So guys, that finishes off MM245. Please hit me up if you have any questions in the comments below. But otherwise, thanks for watching and have an awesome day.